things are going this way, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna do that. Even down to my travel, I'm like, oh, if it's like off, that flight ain't for me, or this ain't for me. Like,
so then that was kind of like, hold up. You know what I'm saying? What's going on here? And
did that make you want to be a rapper more, or make you want to make money to get it back?
Nah.
No. I'm not with him.
No.
Oh. Yeah. Not by choice, but
Yo Gotti turned a fantasy into reality. For years, he rapped about Angela Simmons, chasing her like a dream no one thought he could reach. Against all odds, he got her. The love story fans swore was straight out of a movie. But here's the twist: the fairy tale didn't last. Angela has now stepped out with someone new, and the internet is calling it one of the most humiliating heartbreaks of Gotti's career. What really happened behind the smiles? And how did the dream girl become the heartbreak he never saw coming? Let's get into it. Stop scrolling, because what I'm about to share is the moment that sent shockwaves across the internet. Angela Simmons, the very woman Yo Gotti spent years pursuing, rapping about, and manifesting into his life, has now stepped out publicly with a new man. And Yo Gotti's reaction? Fans are calling it one of the most embarrassing chapters of his career. Cameras flashed, timelines erupted, and within minutes his heartbreak became a global trending topic. But here's the twist. This story isn't just about Angela moving forward. It's about how a romance once painted as a fairy tale spiraled into heartbreak, disappointment, and a public downfall Gotti never saw coming. It all began years ago when Gotti wasn't just another rapper with a harmless crush. He was on a mission. In his lyrics, he dropped Angela's name, boldly declaring to the world that he wanted her. He didn't shy away, he manifested it. For years, it became an industry-wide talking point: Yo Gotti's love for Angela. Fans laughed, rooted for him, and even admired the vulnerability. Because in a world where rappers rarely expose their emotions, here was one who unapologetically admitted he was chasing a woman who seemed untouchable. Straight out of a Hollywood script, Gotti actually pulled it off. He got her. Angela Simmons, daughter of Rev Run from the legendary Run DMC, reality TV star, entrepreneur, and one of the most admired women in hip-hop culture, finally said yes to him. When the news hit that they were officially a couple, the internet went into overdrive. Nobody could believe it. Yo Gotti's longtime dream girl had become his real-life girlfriend. For a moment, it looked picture-perfect. They appeared side by side at events, smiling under flashing lights, holding hands, and giving fans the love story they had been rooting for. To the public, Gotti had done the impossible. After years of chasing and manifesting, he had finally won the woman of his dreams. But like most romances played out in the glare of the spotlight, the fairy tale had cracks the cameras couldn't catch. Behind the polished smiles and Instagram-ready posts, whispers began to circulate. Those close to the couple claimed Angela was craving stability, commitment, peace, and a grounded future. And while Gotti's feelings for her were real, his first love seemed to be the hustle, endless touring, deals, and the superstar grind. At first, Angela went along with it. She cheered him on from the sidelines, showed up to events with unwavering support, and poured herself into the relationship as though love alone could hold everything together. She smiled for the cameras, clasped his hand tightly, and played the role of the ride-or-die partner, willing to weather the storms that came with being attached to a man whose life revolved around constant motion: tour dates, late nights, business meetings, and studio sessions. To the outside world, she seemed content, standing proudly next to him as his star continued to rise. But love has its limits, and over time, the cracks started to show. The sparkle in Angela's eyes wasn't the same. The easy chemistry that once radiated between them began to fade, and the silence grew louder. Fans, who had been rooting for their fairy tale romance, started asking questions. Why weren't they posting together anymore? Why weren't there as many pictures of shared vacations, red carpet appearances, or playful Instagram stories? Something had shifted, and the people watching from the outside could feel it. Angela's captions began to tell a story all their own. No longer were they filled with light-hearted words or cheerful affirmations about love. Instead, they grew more cryptic. Phrases about valuing her peace, about protecting her energy, about choosing happiness even when it came at a cost. She didn't say his name, but she didn't have to. Anyone paying attention could read between the lines. The woman who once smiled endlessly beside him was searching for something more: stability, security, a love that felt safe and sustainable. Meanwhile, Gotti appeared unfazed. In interviews, on stage, and on social media, he carried himself as though nothing was wrong. His confidence didn't waver, At least not publicly. He brushed off the tension with the kind of cool composure that had defined his image for years. To him, maybe the problems were temporary, the kind of bumps every couple faces and eventually moves past. But those closest to Angela knew differently. They knew that behind the glossy pictures and surface-level smiles, she was wrestling with questions bigger than love. Questions about her future, her peace, and what she truly deserved. The gap between them widened slowly at first, then all at once. Fans noticed the absence of shared moments. They noticed Angela spending more time with friends, more time with family, and less time standing in Gotti's shadow. They noticed her captions growing stronger, bolder, as if she was preparing her audience for what was to come. For months, the speculation grew, but neither side confirmed anything. To the public, the love story was still intact, even if it no longer glowed the way it once did. And then came the moment, the one that shattered the illusion completely. Angela Simmons, the woman Yo Gotti had pursued so openly, the woman he had rapped about and manifested into his life, stepped out with someone new. Not in whispers, not in rumors, but in plain sight, hand in hand, smiling in front of flashing cameras. It was the kind of reveal that left no room for doubt. The love story was unraveling, and this time, the whole world saw it happen in real time. That single image, Angela glowing with another man, spoke louder than any caption, louder than any denial. For her, it was a moment of liberation, of stepping into a new chapter with someone who gave her what she had been quietly craving all along. For Gotti, it was a devastating blow, the public confirmation that the cracks he had ignored were no longer cracks at all, they were a collapse. And for the fans who had watched their love story unfold from its earliest days, it was the heartbreaking reminder that not every dream, no matter how long it's chased, is meant to last. Then came the twist no one saw coming. Angela Simmons stepped out with someone new. And it wasn't just anyone. He was everything Yo Gotti wasn't. Grounded, private, and laser-focused on her happiness. The world watched as cameras captured Angela hand in hand with him, laughing freely, glowing like a woman who had finally shed years of weight from her shoulders. A single photo, Angela Simmons smiling beside her new man, was enough to ignite a digital wildfire. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, every platform exploded with memes, debates, and hot takes. Some fans were stunned, others applauded Angela, hailing her for embodying queen energy and choosing herself. But most eyes quickly shifted to Yo Gotti. How would the man who spent years openly declaring his love, chasing Angela in songs and interviews, respond to such a public heartbreak? His answer came quietly, but it was deafening. No names, no direct callouts, just a black and white selfie captioned, "Some things ain't worth the pain." His story simply read, "Be careful who you love." It wasn't much, but to fans, it said everything. Gotti was hurting. The timing made it even heavier. Suddenly, people replayed his old tracks, his heartfelt lyrics about Angela, his interviews where he confessed just how much she meant to him. Clips that once felt romantic now carried the sting of heartbreak. Insiders whispered that Gotti hadn't seen it coming. In his mind, things weren't over. They just needed space, maybe time. To watch Angela smile so effortlessly with another man felt like a knockout punch. Those closest to him noticed the shift. He was quieter, withdrawn, stripped of the larger-than-life confidence fans were used to. At a recent public event, people commented that he looked different, less lively, like a man carrying invisible weight. He looked weighed down, as if the joy had been drained right out of him. And instead of sympathy, the internet pounced. Memes flooded timelines, mocking him for chasing Angela for years, finally getting her, only to lose her in the end. But not everyone joined in the ridicule. Some defended him, pointing out how deeply he had loved Angela and questioning whether she needed to step out so publicly with someone new. Others argued she had every right to move on if she wasn't happy. The internet split into two camps, Team Angela and Team Gotti, and the louder the debates grew, the bigger the story became. Angela, for her part, didn't stay completely silent. Through subtle interviews and candid Instagram lives, she shared her truth without ever disrespecting Gotti. Her message was clear. She was done with chaos. She wanted peace, stability, and real support. And though she never threw shade directly, it was impossible to miss the implication. Gotti couldn't give her what she needed. Her new man could. And that's why she glowed brighter by his side. For Gotti, the fallout wasn't just personal. It was professional. What started as a love story had devolved into an internet spectacle with him at the center. Instead of trending for his music, he was trending for heartbreak. Instead of fans quoting his lyrics, they were quoting Angela's declarations of a new chapter. Whispers turned into headlines, and the humiliation followed him everywhere. Then came the cruelest blow. At his own concerts, the chants that once celebrated his name shifted. Fans shouted hers. Angela. Her name echoed through the crowd like a ghost he couldn't escape, a reminder that the love he once manifested had become the heartbreak that defined him. He couldn't silence it. For a man who built his empire on control, power, and always being that guy, this was the one battle he couldn't win. Because this wasn't just any woman, this was the woman. The one he manifested in lyrics, chased with persistence, and spoke about for years. Finally having her had felt like his greatest victory. But the fairy tale didn't end in fireworks. It unraveled under the gaze of millions. Those close to Gotti say the heartbreak runs deep. Not the loud, dramatic kind, but the quiet, soul-crushing kind that lingers in silence. His once busy feed has gone dim. No more cryptic captions, no sly references to Angela in his music. Instead, he moves with caution now, more guarded than ever. In interviews, he dodges questions about love. His smile doesn't light up the way it used to, and the carefree energy that once defined him carries a shadow. Behind closed doors, friends whisper about the questions that keep him awake. Should he fight for her, or let go with whatever dignity he has left? Was he too public, too sure, too confident, or was Angela never truly his to keep? Those thoughts sting worse than the memes. Meanwhile, Angela moves forward, seemingly untouched by the storm. She's glowing, smiling, posting, and living as though a weight has been lifted. Whether it's real peace or just the picture of it, the contrast is undeniable. One side of the story looks broken, the other looks reborn. Some say Angela's just rebounding. Others argue she's finally choosing herself. Either way, her new relationship owns the spotlight, while Yo Gotti is cast as the one who lost. But what people forget is that this isn't just a breakup. This is the story of a man who dared to dream out loud. A man who took a fantasy, spoke it into existence, and lived it, only to watch it collapse under the gaze of millions. Now the world waits to see what comes next. Will Gotti turn the heartbreak into music, giving fans an anthem that burns across the internet? Or will he disappear into silence, healing privately, letting time blur the edges of his pain? Everyone wants answers. Does he still reach out? Does he still believe in the love story he once rapped about? Or has he finally accepted the hardest truth of all, that not every love is meant to last forever? Maybe Angela was just a chapter, not the whole book. Maybe she was never meant to be the final destination, but rather a pivotal stop along the journey. A reminder that sometimes what you chase for years looks very different once it's finally yours. And maybe the real lesson here isn't about winning. It's about losing. Because the truth is, the fiercest battles are rarely fought in boardrooms, arenas, or on stage. They aren't about money, contracts, or even legacy. The most devastating wars are the quiet ones, fought in the heart. And no matter how much fame, fortune, or power a person accumulates, love has an unmatched way of humbling even the strongest among us. For Yo Gotti, Angela Simmons wasn't just another romance. She was the dream. She was the name he repeated in his lyrics, the woman he manifested in interviews, the person who symbolized possibility itself. To get her was to prove not only to the world but to himself that persistence pays off, that the fairy tales you write in your head can leap into reality. And for a while, he did get the fairy tale. They smiled for cameras. They looked inseparable. Fans rooted for them like characters in a movie, believing they were witnessing the rare moment where fantasy collided with real life. But the movie didn't end with a sunset. It ended with silence, distance, and a headline that shifted the narrative entirely. Angela with someone new. Lighter, happy, as if she had found the peace she had been searching for all along. And Gotti? He was left with questions. Not the kind you can answer in a verse or an interview, but the kind that gnaw at you at 3 a.m., when the noise of the world dies down and all you're left with are your own thoughts. Should he have done more? Was he too busy chasing success to give her the stability she craved? Was he too confident, too public, too certain that what he manifested was his forever? Or was Angela simply never his to keep in the first place? These questions aren't just about love, they're about identity, about manhood, about what happens when the image you build collides with a reality you can't control. And that's where the heartbreak cuts deepest. Because Yo Gotti is not just a man. He's an empire, a brand, a symbol of hustle and control. On stage, he is untouchable. In business, he is respected. In music, he is immortalized. Yet in love, he was exposed, stripped down to the raw truth that even kings can be humbled. No matter how many awards you win, how many deals you close, or how many arenas chant your name, the heart does not play by the same rules. Angela Simmons will forever be more than just an ex. She will be the what if, the almost, the name tied to the moment the world saw Yo Gotti not as the confident mogul, but as the man who bled in silence. To millions, she became the symbol of the love he once spoke into existence, and the heartbreak that left him changed. And for Gotti, she became a mirror. A reminder that even when you get what you want most, it can slip away if it wasn't truly aligned with your journey. But heartbreak, as devastating as it feels, also carries its own strange kind of gift. The same pain that silences a man can also fuel him. The same emptiness that haunts him can become the fire that drives his next chapter. The question everyone asks now is simple. What will Gotti do with this pain? Will he retreat into silence, guarded and closed off, forever more cautious with his heart? Or will he take the very thing that broke him and spin it into music, an anthem of heartbreak so raw it sets the internet ablaze and reminds fans why they fell in love with his story in the first place? Because if there's one truth about artists, it's that their deepest wounds often give birth to their most powerful art. And if Yo Gotti channels this heartbreak into his craft, the world could witness not just the fall of a man, but the rebirth of an artist on a deeper level than ever before. Still, no matter how much time passes, no matter how much healing takes place, one reality will remain unchanged. Yo Gotti will never love the same again. That kind of heartbreak reshapes you. It doesn't just bruise, it carves itself into your soul, altering how you trust, how you give, how you dream. And Angela Simmons, whether she realizes it or not, will forever be etched into that story. She will be the chapter fans never forget, the love that blurred the line between fantasy and reality, and the heartbreak that reminded everyone, even Gotti himself, that love doesn't bow to fame, power, or persistence. In the end, this wasn't just a love story. It was a cautionary tale about the limits of manifestation, the fragility of human connection, and the quiet, humbling truth that sometimes, no matter how badly you want someone, they are not yours to keep. Maybe Angela was a chapter, not the book. Maybe Gotti's story is still being written. But one thing is undeniable. The chapter with her will forever be the one that changed him.